For the past 6.5 decades, the Toyota Land Cruiser has made a name for itself as a Japanese off-road icon SUV. Now here in America, the previous generation known as the Series 200 got a little too big, a little too luxurious, and a little too expensive. So for 2024, Toyota is looking to bring the Land Cruiser back to its original roots with the reintroduction of this model here. This is the all-new 2024 Land Cruiser. And as you can see from the design, it's got a boxy design, but it's also smaller and a lot less expensive than the previous generation. And with its standard hybrid max powertrain, Toyota is promising this model to be the most powerful and the most fuel efficient. So today we're actually out here in San Diego, California to finally get behind the wheel of the new Land Cruiser. And the big question I want answered, has Toyota successfully recreated a Japanese off-road icon SUV? Stay tuned to find out. So the Land Cruiser name left the US back in 2021. So for 2024, it's great to see this vehicle come back. And before we start talking about the exterior styling, I thought I'd pop the hood and show you guys what's powering this thing, because the old Land Cruiser had a legendary engine attached to it. It was the company's tried and true 5.7 liter naturally aspirated V8. But as you guys know, we live in a time of engine downsizing and of course electrification. And the Land Cruiser now has that same philosophy applied, because this is the same powertrain that we also see under the hood of the new Tacoma. It's a 2.4 liter gasoline direct injection dynamic force 4-cylinder with a turbocharger. It also has a powerful 36 kilowatt electric motor that's kind of sandwiched between the engine and the 8-speed automatic transmission. The result is a total of 326 horsepower, which is about 55 horsepower less versus the old V8. But because of the electric motor and that 1.87 kilowatt hour nickel metal hydride battery pack, this vehicle delivers 465 pound-feet of torque. That's about 64 more pound-feet of torque versus the old 5.7 liter V8. And like I said, it's made it up to an 8-speed automatic transmission. That is, again, more gears versus the old Land Cruiser. And the fuel economy of this engine, in case you guys are wondering, because it's a hybrid vehicle, it's rated at 22 in the city and 25 on the highway, about 23 combined. That doesn't sound like a lot, but consider the old Land Cruiser was rated at around 15 mpg combined, while this car's platform mate, the Lexus GX 550, which has a twin-turbo V6, is rated at around 17 combined. So that's around a 6 to 8 mpg improvement versus the Lexus or the old Land Cruiser. The company didn't quote a 0 to 60 time. I would estimate it to be in the upper 6 to maybe low 7-second range. It should have a top speed of just shy of around 110 miles an hour. And this vehicle is an SUV. It's a body-on-frame construction. It'll tow a maximum of 6,000 pounds. That is a slight reduction of about 2,000 pounds compared to the old Land Cruiser. Toyota also did have a preliminary curb weight figure. They're saying that the minimum curb weight is just over 5,000 pounds. The old Land Cruiser was around 5,700 pounds. So I'm not entirely sure if this means that this truck is around 700 pounds less. But again, this model here is not the base version, so I'd estimate it probably is going to be closer to the mid 5,500 pound range. But let's go ahead and close up this hood, which as you can see is held up by a prop rod. I believe the GX, the Lexus version, uses struts, but closing up the hood, let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling. Because first of all, the model that I'm showing you here is the mid Land Cruiser trim. The base version is known as the 1958, and then there's also a first edition model, which sadly Toyota doesn't have here at this event. That actually has a different front fascia with round LED headlights. This model here, as you can see, has the squared off design to the front end. It has the heritage style Toyota grille here where it boldly spells out Toyota at the front. There's kind of like a non-glossy finish to the gray look in the grille. It's got these kind of squares in the actual insert of the grille that allows for air to pass through, of course. This is the radar sensor for the adaptive cruise control, and you also have your front camera down here. These headlights you can see are full LED, so they're an LED with a tri-beam design with an LED daytime running light, LED turn signal. You also have LED fog lights down here. I actually think I might prefer the round headlights that you get in the base version and the first edition model. You can see the front fascia, the departure angle of this vehicle has been, thought to give you a better approach angle, because remember, this is designed to be an SUV. It also has skid plates included, and Toyota says the ground clearance for this vehicle is about 8 inches, which 8 inches is actually not that much. When they first showed off this vehicle about 8 months ago, they said 8.7, but in the specs that they gave us this week, it said 8 inches, which is actually about an inch less versus the previous generation. So I imagine that's something that some owners may eventually swap out and give this car or this SUV a lift. Now, moving around the side profile, this is built off of a new TNGA-F body-on-frame construction. So the platform itself is shared, of course, with vehicles like the Toyota Tacoma, the Toyota Tundra, the Toyota Sequoia, and it's essentially built off of the Series 250 Land Cruiser. So the old Land Cruiser was known as the Series 200. It was technically a larger vehicle. In other markets, there's the Series 300. This is essentially the other market Land Cruiser Prado, so it's technically a different vehicle, but I think it's going to do well in terms of fitting into the marketplace within Toyota's lineup. Now, in terms of the overall length, the wheelbase of this vehicle is still the same at 112.2 inches. That wheelbase number has been the same for Land Cruisers for decades. Toyota just says that's the right length for a wheelbase. Its overall length is around 193.9 inches long. That's around 2 to 3 inches less versus the previous Series 200 Land Cruiser. You can see it's got a very nice boxy shape. I also love this color combination in heritage blue with the white roof. It's definitely a very standout color for a nice boxy design. You can see the wheels. My test car has an optional 20-inch wheel. So this is the only trim where you can get a 20-inch wheel on the Land Cruiser. All other models will have an 18-inch wheel. It's wrapped in a 265 by 60 series Dunlop Grand Trek, kind of a road tire, although it does have some all-terrain capabilities. I'm surprised that Toyota doesn't offer like a TRD version of the Land Cruiser. I would expect them to eventually offer maybe a Trail Hunter or a TRD Pro or a TRD Off-Road at some point, but for now, this is going to be one of the more off-road capable models, except you probably won't go for the 20-inch wheels. You'll probably go for the 18s. The wheel and tire setup, I think the truck looks really good with the 20s. I love the black design. The fender flares here you can see are unpainted. They're gray. It goes along the side of the rocker panel as well. Along with those running boards, you have black painted side mirrors here with integrated turn signals. You have a camera on there underneath it. And then you can see above me here, you have these nice and beefy roof rails. And you also have a standard size sunroof. If you guys are looking for a pano roof, Lexus will happily sell you a GX 550 Luxury Plus to get the pano roof. I really love, again, the squared off proportions of this vehicle. It just looks really, modern. It also looks very rugged. It looks very heritage inspired, which I think Toyota did a really great job with the design. And then looking over at the rear of the Land Cruiser, you can see that squared off theme continues with this almost vertical style to the actual tailgate itself. You have a nicely integrated spoiler over here. The rear wiper, I kind of would prefer if Toyota had hid it underneath the rear spoiler. You can see you've got your usual badging here. It says Land Cruiser there, Toyota spelled out here, and then you can see iForce Max with their new Beyond Zero badge here shows off that this is a hybrid vehicle, so that's something to keep in mind. If you're comparing this to the Lexus version, the Lexus is not a hybrid, although it should be coming. The Land Cruiser comes standard with the hybrid powertrain. Behind here, you're going to find the tow hitch. Like I said earlier, this will tow a maximum of 6,000 pounds. And if you want, you can access the rear cargo area by pushing that button, and this glass actually will flip up to allow you to kind of get some access into the cargo area. Or if you guys want to open it up the traditional way, you can see it includes a power lift gate, not on the base 1958, but on this trim, it does come standard. And you can see in terms of the cargo figures, you probably noticed the floor here is slightly raised, and that's because this is where the 1.87 kilowatt nickel metal hydride battery lives. So Toyota doesn't offer the Land Cruiser as a non-hybrid. It does eat into your cargo space a little bit. And then in other markets, you can actually get this with a third row seat, but obviously, as you can see here, not in America. You have the same, or you actually have some of the remnants of a third row with the cup holders, the USB charging ports back here. So that's a little strange, along with the rear seat third row air vents in the ceiling. I didn't expect to find that, but again, no third row. Toyota says you have around 37.5 cubic feet of space back here, which it's a good amount. If you fold down the seats, they didn't provide what the number was if you folded down the seats entirely, but I'd probably estimate it'd be in the 80 to 85 cubic feet range. The old Land Cruiser had around 42 to around 82 cubic feet, but just keep in mind this new version is a little bit smaller versus the previous generation. So Toyota really knocked it out of the park with the exterior design of the new Land Cruiser, but what about the interior? First of all, this particular one that I'm showing you has the black full leather interior. With this color combination, Toyota also offers a Java brown interior, which would have probably been my preference, but this black interior also looks pretty good. You can see it has the contrast gray / white stitching. It also has perforations because they're heated and ventilated. This seat adjusts in 10 different ways, 8 different ways for the passenger side. You also have 2-person memory. These leather seats are included as part of a premium package for $4,600. If you guys don't get the premium package, you'll actually have a Softex, a faux leather material. So they are definitely a nice upgrade if you guys prefer really plush seats. Now, in terms of the door panel materials, you can see there's a padded soft touch area here on the upper portion. It's also right here. You have this silver painted accented door handle. It's nice and padded with contrast stitching here for the armrest. You have one touch up down for all 4 windows with the typical Toyota high quality window controls. You have power folding mirrors, power mirror controls. And down here you can see it's all hard touch plastic, but you have some additional storage. And then the premium package also rolls in the 14 speaker JBL sound. So if you guys are an audiophile, you really want to tick the option for that premium package. Now, getting inside this vehicle with around 8 inches of ground clearance, the running board is definitely nice. There's also a grab handle here to allow shorter people like myself to get in. And then once you get in here and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, but I will say that from the outside, it didn't sound all that solid. It sounded a little tinny. But before we start the vehicle up, let me show you guys the key fob. You can see this is the current Toyota key fob. It even says Land Cruiser on the back to remind you of the special off-road vehicle. It has the usual buttons for lock, unlock, power liftgate, and then panic function. The digital key where you can use your phone as a key is also included as part of that premium package. So start stop button is right here. When you put your foot on the brake, push it, you can hear. The vehicle doesn't have a traditional starter noise, but because this is a hybrid, it kind of just whirs to life, but the engine always pretty much comes on every time you turn the vehicle on. And that's because this hybrid system is not the same planetary CVT hybrid that you see in other Toyota vehicles. Instead, you just have that electric motor sandwiched between the engine and transmission, and it only has one electric motor as opposed to 2 or 3. So again, you have a more traditional feel, but once you're in here, you can see you have this really nice commanding view of the road with the 2 hood bulges there to kind of show how powerful and how boxy this vehicle is. And then in terms of the tech, this middle trim that I'm showing you comes standard with the dual 12-inch displays. So you have a 12.3-inch fully digital cluster here, which is slightly customizable, where you can change a couple of the different menus and how it looks. And you also have a 12.3-inch center touchscreen here, which includes Toyota's latest audio multimedia interface. My phone connected, as you can see, via wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. This is the largest screen that you can get. If you guys go for the base 1958, you'll actually have a 7-inch cluster here and an 8-inch touchscreen here, still with wireless CarPlay, but you definitely want to go for the middle trim, at least if you guys want the biggest and the best tech for this vehicle. You can see in terms of dashboard materials, it has a soft touch injection molded plastic here, although this technically feels more like the Softex leather. It's really plush. Up here you can see it's a soft touch injection molded plastic. I don't love the cheap smooth finish that Toyota put on this. This is a very early pre-production model. You can see right here, this tries to look like almost like an alloy carbon fiber mixture trim. You also have some bronze accents here. You have dual zone automatic temperature control with nice dials and actual physical buttons to control that. You have heated and ventilated seats, which is included on this trim as standard equipment, even with the Softex, which is nice. You have 3 USB-C charging ports here. You can even use one of them to actually connect your phone if you don't want to use it via CarPlay, which is nice. You have a view monitor here. If I push that, it does a full 360 perimeter scan. That is again included, I believe, with the premium package. The graphics and the resolution is fine, although that view to me is a little bit more useless. If I put the vehicle into reverse, that gives you a better view with the top-down view. The camera quality and graphics are fine. You can see there's also a washer, or where it actually will spray the camera in case it gets dirty, or if you're planning to do some off-roading. So that's all very, very nice. Looking at the steering wheel, you can see the steering wheel is also unique to the Land Cruiser, which I love. You have the Toyota Heritage script here where it spells out Toyota. You can see there's the sensor there to watch your face because it comes standard with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, so it has their pre-collision assist. You have a power tilt and telescoping steering column, which is actually a nice feature to find. That's something that you'd expect in a Lexus vehicle, so it's great to see it here in the Land Cruiser. No paddles on the wheel. You have your controls here for audio for the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0. You have a horn that sounds pretty nondescript, but at least it's appropriate given the size of the vehicle. And then you can see down here in the center console, this is where you're going to find your drive mode selector and your multi-terrain selector. So you can see this dial, it adjusts based on whether I have it in drive mode here where it's lit up. So if I switch it in the drive mode, it'll switch between sport, normal, and an eco mode. And then if I have it in this button here in the multi-terrain select, it'll give you even more modes like an automatic mode, a dirt, sand, mud, deep snow. And this new multi-terrain select works in 4-wheel high and 4-wheel low. Previously it only worked, I believe, in 4-wheel low. So again, Toyota has definitely improved the technology, and it also engages and works a lot faster. You have downhill assist control and crawl control as well. And then down here you can see there's a wireless phone charging pad that fits my iPhone 14 Pro Max nicely. That wireless charging pad, however, is part of the $4,600 premium package. It really should be standard, especially on this price point on this trim. Not sure why Toyota decided to group it in that premium package. You can see there's a big traditional shifter here for the 8-speed auto. It also has a manual mode here with manual control in the actual gear selector, not paddles, as you can see. And then you have your electronic parking brake here. The 4-wheel drive toggle, you can see all Land Cruisers come standard with full-time 4-wheel drive, so it's always in high 4, or you push down to go to low 4. There's also a locking center diff, a locking rear diff, a front sway bar disconnect, which is included on this trim, and then your stability control off button. This is all, stuff that dedicated off-roaders expect. So it's great to see Toyota including that. You have cup holders here, a nice padded center console here. And then if I open this up, part of that premium package also includes a cool box here. So it's essentially a fridge. Put my hand in there, it actually stays very, very cold. So that's great for keeping drinks in there cold on those longer road trips. You turn it on and off by pushing that button. Obviously above me here, you can see this sunroof is also included as part of that premium package. It's just a standard sunroof. It allows you to open it up completely, or you can also tilt it up and down to vent some air. There's also a shade here that opens and closes. The premium package also rolls in the digital camera, rear view mirror, which you don't really need it because visibility out of the back is good, but this is good if you have a bunch of stuff in the back that's kind of blocking the rear window. And then over here, you can see the glove compartment. It goes into the dash. It almost has 2-level storage. It's a pretty good size. It's damped, but not lined with felt. And overall, the interior of this model here definitely feels a lot more modern. And if you guys are an audiophile, the JBL sound system sounds pretty decent. You also get a heads-up display, which is also included. I think that's also a great feature to have. But overall, considering this is a pre-production truck, the build quality seems good, material quality seems good. The tech, it's nice, although I'm surprised they didn't want to go with their larger 14-inch display. But I think compared to the previous generation, this is definitely still a step up. Now moving to the back seat of the all-new 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. Remember, here in America, Toyota only offers it as a 2-row vehicle. In other markets, you can get it with a 3rd row, and you're gonna notice that this vehicle obviously had a 3rd row because if you wanna fold these seats down, you pull this little lever here and you can see the seat flips down and then flips up. This would allow you to technically get some space to get into the 3rd row, but this is how you basically fold the seat out of the way. That is going to reduce the cargo capacity. This setup is actually the same in the Lexus GX and in the new Toyota 4Runner as well. But once you get back here, you can see there's a nice grab handle to help me get inside. The running board is also nice. And then once you're back here, Toyota basically says, at least in the spec sheet, there's 26.7 inches of legroom. That is definitely a typo because I believe this is more like 36 inches of legroom. It's pretty similar, of course, to the new Lexus GX, although the Lexus, I think, has a little bit more space. Material quality back here is the same soft touch injection molded plastic. It's padded here. It's nice and padded here. The window is still 1 touch up down for the rear. Which is nice. You have rear seat air vents here on the actual ceiling, which is nice. And then looking over here at the center, you can see you have 2 storage cubbies. You have your own set of rear seat climate controls. No heated rear seats, however. You do have 2 USB-C charging ports and a traditional 12-volt power outlet. There is a hump here that intrudes for the middle passenger, but because this vehicle is almost 78 inches wide, there is room for 3 people across. The seats themselves, they also give you a slight recline function, which is nice. And in terms of the legroom space, you can see this is pretty much where I have it to drive. I'm 5'7". I can still get back here and get pretty comfortable. I can cross my legs. There is a good amount of headroom space because the height of this vehicle is relatively tall because it's a boxy SUV. It's around 76 inches tall. And then if you fold this down, you can see there's an armrest with 2 cup holders. So overall, if you want to use the new Land Cruiser as a family vehicle, you certainly can. But it's definitely not going to have as much space as, more of a traditional car-based unibody SUV. But again, for a body-on-frame vehicle, it is certainly still very practical. So here we are basically in the southernmost point of California, where we're just south of San Diego, almost at the border of Mexico. And Toyota has set up this off-road course for the Land Cruiser. Now, sadly, I wanted to be able to drive this vehicle out on the road, on the street, but Toyota said that we're not allowed to take them out on the street, at least not on this drive. So I'll have to wait until I get one back home for a full week to test out what the on-road dynamics are going to be. But this is a Land Cruiser, so I figured we'd talk about the off-road ability of this vehicle. So crawl control is almost like an off-road cruise control where it uses the brakes and the throttle to basically maintain a set speed. And it's definitely a much more refined system than in previous iterations, because before, I remember it was quite noisy. It would always make these beeping and like mechanical buzzing sounds, but now it's just a lot more quiet. And you guys also saw that the 4-wheel drive system switches into its 4-wheel low range much faster. I also love the camera there. You can see, because right now I'm pointed up toward the sky and I can't see a darn thing, but with this camera, front camera and the side cameras, I can see where the tires are going. So it kind of helps me place the vehicle, especially if I don't have a spotter, but there are spotters out here. So with the sway bar disconnected at the front, it allows for a lot more wheel articulation. You definitely can feel that when you're on this little course here. The car, even though it supposedly has only 8 inches of ground clearance, it's surprisingly maneuverable, and it also didn't scrape at all. I'll go ahead and unlock the rear diff here. It looks like it's still blinking. Let me just quickly stop here. That should allow it to unlock the diff. But as you can see, going up here, The smaller size of this vehicle is definitely a plus. I really like how this vehicle doesn't feel so cumbersome and huge, especially when you're doing some, off-road situations where, the old Land Cruiser was probably a little bit too big, a little bit too bulbous, a little bit too much, essentially. But as you can see, this course that Toyota has set up isn't exactly, the crazy most challenging course, but it always never looks quite as challenging when you're actually watching it on camera versus being in the vehicle. You can see the four-wheel drive system in low range is sending the power where it needs to go. I have the center diff lock still locked. I unlocked the rear diff, which took a second for it to unlock. But all the cameras in this vehicle really help with just kind of seeing where I need to place the car, because I don't have, obviously, a spotter with me now. But just in these low-speed maneuvers, the suspension, remember, we have a body-on-frame construction. We have a live axle coil spring suspension at the rear, double wishbone independent at the front. It's got a new electric power steering, rack and pinion steering system. And this car is just, it handles the terrain really easily. I mean, the Land Cruiser makes this kind of stuff super easy. I know some of you in the comments are probably like, hey, my Honda Civic or Toyota Corolla could easily do that. But again, this little course here that they've set up really showcases the wheel articulation, the ground clearance, the four-wheel drive system, and how it sends the power to the correct wheel. And you just kind of crawl right up this, and it just does it and makes it so easy. So the engine itself in this vehicle, I do notice it's a little bit whiny sounding. Now, I don't know if Toyota again is augmenting the engine sound at one point. I'm sadly and frustrated that I'm not able to drive this thing out on the road, because that's again where most people are going to be driving their Land Cruisers. But in these kind of conditions, as you can see, the Land Cruiser just kind of eats this up, and it's just very smooth and refined doing so. I'm sitting here with, with the cooled seat on. The seats themselves are super plush and comfortable. I love how soft the headrests are. My test car, as you guys remember, has the premium package, so it actually has the real leather seats as opposed to the vegan or the Softex fake leather material. And then again, I can't really comment too much on the transmission because this is an 8-speed and I'm only driving it at literally like 4 miles an hour, 5 miles an hour at a crawl. But I will say that this whole setup is very smooth. I mean, I've driven some newer vehicles, like the new Ford Ranger, for example. I was on an off-road situation. You could definitely hear and feel especially the shifts from Ford's 10-speed auto. This is just a lot more of a smoother transition and transmission. I'm not entirely sure if that's just Toyota's programming and whatnot, or the hybrid system adding its power at low speeds. Because remember, the hybrid system, the electric motor does add around 50 horsepower, and it's really going to help you out at low speeds where it can technically, fill in the gaps that you might feel from the turbocharged engine. I will say the off-road course on this is definitely better versus what I experienced in the Lexus GX, but that was out of a technicality because of the freak rainstorm that Arizona had the week that I was there. But as you can see, this Land Cruiser is just kind of going over this quite nicely, and I can see out of it really well. I'm in these comfortable seats. Everything is so smooth and refined. So yeah, I have very little complaints. This truck makes this whole course and off-roading in general very, very easy, and I can see why so many people love these, because it still gives you that commanding view of the road that people demand and expect when you buy something with the Land Cruiser name. So with over 6.5 decades of heritage within the Toyota lineup, it's obvious that the Land Cruiser has always been a very important part of the Toyota portfolio. In fact, when the company discontinued the vehicle back in 2021, I personally was really sad, but we also knew, we had a feeling that Toyota would eventually bring it back. And after a 2-year wait, it's really great to see the all-new 2024 Land Cruiser. And after spending the day driving this new model, I have to say Toyota has really knocked it out of the park here. I think that by going with the Series 250 platform, the Land Cruiser Prado, it's allowed Toyota to kind of reposition the Land Cruiser within the Toyota portfolio, because a lot of you were probably hoping that Toyota would kind of go more with a Jeep route. The company has been hinting that there might be an FJ Cruiser return, so the Land Cruiser is definitely an interesting proposition. So basically, after spending the day driving this thing only off-road, I really am disappointed that Toyota would not let me take this vehicle out on the road. I'll have to wait until I get one back home to test for a full week. As you guys saw, the iForce Max powertrain offers plenty of punch for this vehicle. I mean, the electrification part really allows you to kind of save fuel when you're driving around town, which, because let's be honest here, it's an off-road vehicle. Most people are going to be driving this thing out on the road, and compared to the old fuel efficiency, or the old model, the fuel efficiency is up almost 10 mpg, and this is also 6 mpg better versus the Lexus GX. Is this car going to be quicker than the Lexus? I'm not entirely sure, but the Hybrid Max powertrain is a really nice, match to the weight and the heft of this vehicle, and that 8-speed automatic is also smooth. The ride quality, at least off-road, is also really good. Remember, this is a body-on-frame vehicle with a live axle in the back, coil spring suspension, no air suspension, however. You can't even get that on the Lexus, but I do wish that Toyota would offer, or at least launch this vehicle with a TRD version. I would love to see a TRD Pro. I'd love to see a Trail Hunter version. So it's a little surprising to me as to why Toyota didn't want to launch it with those models. But again, that's what the aftermarket is for. I suspect Toyota is also going to eventually do that. The interior has most of the modern tech features that you can want. Love the 12.3-inch display. Love the fully digital instrument panel. I love the seats. They're very comfortable and supportive. And the second row has enough space for most adults. I don't really care about the fact that Toyota doesn't offer a third row, because they do offer that, of course, in the new 4Runner. And that's kind of where the Land Cruiser's positioning is going to be interesting, because even though they made this new truck a lot more affordable, it starts at around $55,950 for the base 1958. That's plus a $1,400 destination charge. This model here, the Land Cruiser, the mid-trim, is around $6,000 more. Now, I'd argue that that's probably worth it. It starts at around just under $62,000. My test car here with the premium package for $4,600 and the $1,200 for the 20-inch wheels, the $400 for the two-tone paint, checks in at just over $68,000, about $68,120. Almost 70 grand actually is pretty expensive. And if you guys go to a first edition model, which Toyota is only building about 5,000 for the first year of production, that's going to cost you around $76,000. So yes, this model is around 40 grand less expensive than the old Land Cruiser, but at the top end, it gets dangerously close to the old Land Cruiser, and it's also around the same price as a Lexus GX 550 Overtrail Plus. Now, that's for the first edition model. This model here is about the same price as a Lexus GX 550 Premium Plus, and that's where, there's a little bit of sibling rivalry here, because I think I actually prefer the look and the interior and the luxury feel of the Lexus. However, I also like the Hybrid Max powertrain in this vehicle, so I'll have to wait until I get a chance to drive the two vehicles back to back. But really, you can't go wrong. I'm expecting Lexus to eventually offer the Hybrid Max powertrain in the GX 550 at some point. They'll probably rename it to something else. But if you guys are looking for, a traditional off-road body-on-frame SUV with a lot of heritage, it's great that the new Land Cruiser is back, but just know its pricing, while it is more affordable, there are a lot of other choices out there, within its competitors and also within the Toyota and Lexus space. Well, all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the brand new 2024 Toyota Land Cruiser. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.